Okay, my friends, I always issue what I call the 15-minute challenge. You go out, and if you can't find a mud fossil within 15 minutes, I want to know why. So Tish Egerton took me up on it. She walked out, and in 15 minutes, she came across a foot that was just stuck right into that. And she lifted it out and took a picture because it's laying right on the top of the surface. And I can see these are bones, I believe. This was in, you see the coloration of it, like that's mineral, you know, that's blood metals in there. But anyway, she just picked it right up. And you want to see what it looked like when she picked it up? This was it right here. Now, listen to this now. That's a foot. Now, that almost looks like a wing nut or something, holding the pad, which would have been underneath, on. It's got some very strange architecture, but it's all biological, and it has springs and everything built into it, as the ones she has found in that area. And these are the springs. This is another one she found, and they erode, and then on the side you can see they don't have bones. They don't have bones like we have. We have bones. They have springs. You see this? That bone is the right bone, just like this bone. That bone is correct, and that strap is correct, and it would lead right up to a bone that would be sitting in this saddle. Something similar to like this type of a bone would be sitting in that saddle, and this would be holding it there so that it could rock around, but it couldn't pull off this way. So, and I will show you, there's a wrinkle zone in there. That is a tendon. It was a tendon just exactly like this. I got a better shot of this. Now, so mine is completely flawless. Hers are in all different states of decomposition. She sent me all this stuff. I have it here. Now let me show you what this looks like when you get really into the details. This is it right here. Now remember we talked about the heel bone. And then there's that strap. You see the strap? Same strap. And you see how it's all bubbly looking here? That's what's called a wrinkle zone. That is always under tension. Tendons are under tension. And boing, it snapped. Now, what's going on here? I'm not certain. But I think they have these little tabs and then wires or something that run around to other tabs. Like, I think these do. You see that tab right there? I think that's a tab, and I think that little hole was connected to some form of a wire that ran around here up to this tab, and that's wire. Now, I'm not sure of this, but the reason I say this is that when the foot would go this way, the little bumpers are sticking out, the no toes. There's little tabs in there, but they're going to bump up against this solid plate here and force that solid plate, which are two of them together, force it to go up this way, which would twist it, because that's a pin. It's not just going to go up, everything's going to go up. It's going to twist on that pin. It's a pin, and that's a pin too. Those aren't going to move. So that twist, now what would happen? This is part of this. So when this twists, this has to go down this way. So it pulls this thing in this way. So now we've got this thing loaded up, spring loaded. It wants to get back to where it started from. So now it's already spring loaded. If you really hammered it, it would start pulling this thing, and it would spring load this into this cavity. All right, because of this wire attaching to that. That's the only thing that brings these two together that I can find. This is a bumper pad, so that when it comes, it's a gooey bumper pad. It looks like to me. So you got a pin that's going to go this way, and if you normally are walking just a little bit like this, but all of a sudden you go wham on the front, and it goes roll, and it pulls really tight into here. So now you got this one loaded, now this one loads, so you got a double load, and it just lays back down when you take it off. But boy, I tell you, that looks like a little tab to me, and same thing here, and it looks like a little wire, and that looks like a little wire. And these are pins. And that's the heel, and that's another one. It looks like a damn wire to me. I don't know. I don't know. I do not know at this point. All I know is this was a foot, and that's the heel, and that's that strap, that tendon, that would have led up to the bone. And she went out and found these in 15 minutes. And she got a ton of them. These are all hers. These are all tissues. This one here has all the little toes just fell out like little sausages or something. I don't know. And here's an eroded one. Here's another eroded one with the back is all eroded out. And they come like two little straps in the back and then all that little springy stuff going on. I don't know. A lot to look into. And then of course this has the actual blood supply looking stuff. Same thing as my foot. See, very similar. It's got that look to it, and there's that where the heavy duty blood is. Now, I believe this would have been encapsulated all around just like mine is at one time. But there's so many varieties of these, and when I show you the next one, this is going to knock your socks off because it's just too spectacular to believe. But I got it right here, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. Again, there's so much we don't know. There is so much we don't know that happened not too long ago in the past. These things, all my stuff, basically almost all of it came right on the surface, above the surface, or just barely below the surface. This is no digging deep hundreds of feet down to find these things. They were just laying there. The same thing with that. Nobody put that there. That's been there since, I believe, the Great Flood. And I believe that's what happened to all of these things. And that's why, and Velikovsky did all the research on this, that in the ancient past, there was a great flood. And that's what created all these sea peoples. You see this? This is almost impossible to miss. Invasion and migrations, 1200 BC. Velikovsky says it was about 1500 BC that the whole world was destroyed. Now, all of a sudden, these sea peoples, these are the sea peoples. Sea peoples. Where do they come from? Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. Sea peoples, including Lucca, Lusherden, Webster, attacked unsuccessfully into Egypt. Now, nobody has any idea where those people came from. I believe those were the Atlanteans that regrouped and started to attack everywhere. Now, then you got them in Greece. So we're way back 1200 BC. This is right a few hundred years after the flood, if Velikovsky's right. Now, sea peoples, including all of these different types, attacked unsuccessfully Egypt, apparently again. Sea people destroyed settlements in Syria and Cyprus. They are trying to find their way back, and they were hostile people, looks like to me. Now, possibly Teresh movement to Etruria and Shikalish and Sardinia. And then you got the Mycenaean Greeks. And so what they're talking about is these sea peoples. Nobody can account for them. And they had all these accounts of these sea monsters that the Library of Congress is looking into. This is sea monsters and medieval Renaissance maps. They had so much detail on this. They had so many sightings of the same creatures in different areas. They had them all on the maps. They had them all documented. They said what they did and how strong they were. And they actually, some of the accounts are just absolutely unbelievable. But you can almost believe it when you see Typhon, how big he was in the desert. This is over 1,000 miles long. And they said some of these guys at sea thought they were finding islands. They were the backs of fish, these gigantic, monstrous dragonfish. And they'd start making campfires and everything right on the back of the fish, thinking it was just a landmass. I'm not kidding you. That's what was written. That's what these guys are talking about. Right here it is, right here. Library of Congress. The sea is called the Ocean Sea, and therein are found great fish. Sailors take to be small islands. So they see these fish and they think they're small islands. They take up their quarters on these fish. They camp out on them. And the sailors land on these islands and make fires and cause such heat that the fish feels it and sets itself in motion. And they have no time to get on board, and they are lost. And those who know this land on the said fish, and there make thongs of its back, and make fast the head of the ship's anchor. And in this way, they flay the skin off it, whereof they make ropes for their ships. And of this skin are made good coverings for haystacks. Could that possibly be true? I don't see, I can't discount it at this point. Okay, I told you I got the weirdest one you're ever going to see. I call it the Oompa Loompa. This is a foot. This is a foot. And this is where the fibula sat, right in here. And I'll put a little water on there. It makes it a little more obvious. But this, I can't account for why it's so flat on the top, because it died laying on this side. I can tell that because of the texture, and it's flat too. So, and this is a foot. Now, this is the bottom of the foot. And don't forget, I talk about this being stretched where the blood runs. This is one of the pads of the foot, the other pad up here. This is where the guy walked on his feet. I mean, this is a foot. Now, it died just like that. All right, and I can tell that because you see how this is a different look to it, but this is also skin. This is nothing more than hide, and I will show that. And again, all of that white looking stuff is where the blood flushed out the color and left the fiber. Now, these are mineralizations. You see these white spots? And I'm not exactly sure. I think that might be some kind of lichen. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you. But and this is the cradle in the back where the bone would have rocked up against here. When I put a little moisture on there, you might be able to see a little better. And sometimes when you have it in the shadows, you can see things a little better. But anyway, this right here was where the fibula was. Now, mine, they broke right off flat, but this had a hollow to it. And the reason, I believe, is because it was dyed laying on this way, and it just didn't fall off. Mine, they just fell off. This one was being compressed up into there, creating the cavity that we can see, that's what you'd expect from the fibula. But normally it doesn't happen. Normally they just break right off. Like this one. The same thing with tissues. You see, well, same thing here. That's how they just normally just fall right off. But this one died on this side. Now, if it had died on this side, it would probably have pushed it up inside, like this one is. All right, but that's no, and I'll look at this in a microscope in a second. Let me put a little water on it, because you really can't see much until you get some moisture on a lot of the details. So sometimes you can see them, but water almost always makes it better. All right, there's an attachment right there. All right, I'm going to back out of here. You see it right there? And that held the fibula to the main bone coming up. Now, let's take a look in the microscope. All right, this is on the side that was flat down in the mud. And you can see the fabric, and you can see the little blood balls and all that stuff. And where it was out of the mud, you see there's all the fabric and all that. It's the exact same thing. It's some kind of weirdo looking foot. I can't account for any of this stuff. But I have another one that's even weirder than that. Okay, I don't see any way to deny that that's the same fabric right there on that big no-toe right there, whatever it is, this big Oompa Loompa I call it. It's the same as all the rest of them. It has the same fabric on it.